Dear colleagues, I now would like to present you a complete new method for treatment of body fat. We also can call it body contouring. The principle is that the red laser light applied to the fatty tissue is able to disrupt the membranes of the fatty cells by producing of radicals in the mitochondria. So after rupture of the membranes of the fatty cells, the fat will go in the interstitial tissue and then will be picked up by macrophage and removed by the bloodstream, liver and kidney. We have new data from the last years, especially from the USA, that the body fat cannot only removed by liposuction, but also with a very nice and mild method of treatment with soft laser. There were several double-blind studies in the US in the last years showing that the red laser applied from outside is already effective enough to remove enough fat that this method was approved by the FDA in America. In own experiments and in other research papers, however, the results of the only external treatment of the fatty tissue were not satisfying. You know that we developed in Germany the interstitial technology, so if we give the laser directly in the fatty tissue interstitially, so this therapy then might be much more effective. Because the biggest problem is that the skin already absorbs about 80% of the laser energy and destroys also a lot of the coherency of the laser light. So I will demonstrate you now the technique of this therapy. It is very easy. We choose 3 points on the right side of the abdomen and 3 points on the other side. And the first step is to give a local anesthesia, that the therapy later and the insertion of the fiber optic needles is not painful. So in total we use normally 6 points on the abdomen, but we can also use 6 points on other places like on the right or left side. In the next step now we inject some ml of saline solution, which brings more fluid in the fatty tissue and leads to a better transmission of light. Because we do not want only to treat the local point, but we want to treat the whole area, and later you will see when the device is running that we have a wonderful spreading of the red laser light within the whole fatty tissue. I asked the patient if this is painful, but after local anesthesia, she's not feeling anything of the injection of the saline solution. Good local anesthesia is always the main step, that it's not a painful treatment for the patient. In the next step now, we will insert the fiber optic needles. We use here the small butterflies with a length of about 2.5 centimeters with a lure lock at the end where we can later insert the catheters. So you see the insertion of the needle is now very easy and quickly done. And after inserting of the needles, then we will put the catheter inside and start the irradiation. Treatment time will be in total 1 hour. So we treat for half an hour on the right side and then half an hour on the left side with 3 needles. So the therapy is ready. And in the next step now we will insert the laser catheters. So I remove the protection at the end of the catheter, insert in the cannulas and then fixed by screwing on the butterfly. The big advantage of this method is not only the cosmetic effect of body contouring, it has already also a metabolic effect. Everybody knows that the fatty tissue of the abdomen is one of the biggest risk factors for development of coronary heart disease or also for diabetes. And everybody knows that half of the population nearly suffers today from high blood pressure, from risk of coronary heart disease or diabetes. So this is not only a cosmetic treatment, but a medical treatment as well in the same step. So you see now the connection is ready. And in the next step we will connect the fiber optic cables of the laser models of the laser device with the catheters. We treat with red laser light 635 nanometers and 40 milliwatt at each point. So all three lasers are now connected, and now we can press the buttons on the device and start the treatment. And immediately you see the wonderful spreading of the red light in the fatty tissue. For the patient it is a wonderful feeling. Most of the patients, they report wonderful, warm and relaxing feeling, and most of the patients report that they can sleep better in the night. I think this is the reason for also systemic effects induced by the laser diodes. Again, the big advantage now is the direct contact of the laser light with the fatty cells, rupture of the fatty cell membranes, and then removal of the fat by the lymph and later the blood flow, and metabolization by liver and kidney. So we now switch the light off, and you can see the perfect spreading of the laser light in the whole treated area. And of course we can imagine that beside of the local effect, of course we have an energizing effect of the body, which leads to a much better well-being of the patient.